We have to separate between the preliminary path, the mundane path, the path that we're all following when we do our meditation, and the noble path, which is the moment where you're actually right, where you're actually in the right, on the right path. So as with all the factors, it's generally described in terms of the mundane path. And the idea with all of this is to help us understand how we get to the noble path. And just because you're not killing or stealing or cheating doesn't mean you're on the noble path, right? But if you refrain from all kinds of wrong action, that's what will lead you. That's part of what will lead you to the noble path. This is the point with talking about the preliminary path. And it's the point of actually describing the Eightfold Noble Path, because at the moment it seems kind of silly to say, well, your right action, you're not killing or stealing or cheating. Well, of course you're not. I mean, you're in a meditative state. Your mind is so fixed you couldn't kill or lie, or you couldn't kill or lie or do anything bad. But it's about how we get there. So in terms of the mundane path, there are 3 factors. For speech there were 4, for action there are 3. Not killing, not stealing, and not committing adultery, or what we call sexual misconduct, which means cheating, really, or working with someone else to cheat on their partner. Any kind of romantic engagement that is that requires permission but doesn't get it. That is betraying someone's trust. So these 3, it's quite simple. No killing, no stealing, and no cheating. Seems a little too simple, right? Can't be that simple. And again, these are the indicators. They're like signposts or fence posts in a way, because the fence still has to be filled in. But these give you a marker. If you're killing, you're outside of the noble path. You're not going to get to the noble. Not that you're outside. You're not going to get to the noble path. You're not on a path that will lead you to the noble path. If you're stealing, refraining from these things is part of what allows you to concentrate, to focus your mind. But it's important to note that it's even on the mundane path, it's actually not about the action itself. When we talk about these things as indicators, like, oh, if you're killing, well, that's a sign that you're not going in the right direction, and so on. But it's not even about the killing. When we talk about right action, we're not even talking about the action itself. We're talking about the mind's intention to commit the action. We're talking about curbing that intention so that it doesn't become physical, right? We are talking about when the intention becomes physical, but the physical act itself isn't important, or isn't itself important. Why this is important to specify is because, of course, you can kill something without meaning to. You can kill a person without any bad intention. We don't call it killing in Buddhism. It's kind of interesting how often this question comes up. If you step on an ant, someone this morning actually said to me, he killed a spider in the bathroom, but he didn't mean to, and he wasn't clear that it was not wrong. So it's important to be clear on this, that it's not about the action. It's about the intention leading to the action. And so, of course, this is the first step towards bringing the mind to a pure state, is destroying the most coarse defilements, which are the actions where our defilements become physical. You can have such anger for someone, and that's a bad thing. But the moment you let it spill over into your action, it's gone to another level. It's categorically different. It's now become a physical reality. You attack someone, even if you just attempt to kill them. It's become wrong action in that sense. And so technically, though it's not how the Buddha describes it, but for the purposes of our meditation, as Buddhists, we keep these sort of coarse fence posts in mind. Yes, killing, stealing, cheating. But as meditators, it's important that we have a much more refined sense of right action. Right action especially, I think, in the sense that we try to do nothing with our hands, our feet, our bodies that is unmindful. You know, what about if you stub your toe and you kick the table, or you smash the chair, or you throw it over, or your computer isn't working and you pick up the monitor and you throw it on the ground? That's wrong action. You storm around, or worse, you hit someone, you hurt someone. Right? Torture isn't in the precepts. You can keep the 5 precepts and be a very nasty person, doing lots of very nasty things. Rape. I think some people would say it breaks the 3rd precept, but either it's just no matter whether it does or not, it's clear that there are these things that are wrong. And as meditators, we have a very refined sense of this during the meditation course. You start to see that even turning your body quickly is wrong. Reaching for something quickly out of desire, or scratching your face out of aversion, is wrong action. You feel pain and adjusting yourself, you start to see that even that is wrong. Because it's a bad intention become an action, which really does make a difference. If you want to scratch, for example, well, eventually sometimes you do have to scratch. I mean, you just can't bear it, right? But when you train, and you can bear with it, and you say wanting, itching, that's where concentration begins. You ruin your concentration the moment it becomes physical, scratching your face. So meditators begin to become quite careful with their actions. When they walk, Mahasi Sayadaw says they walk like sick people. It looks like kind of like a sick ward here, because everyone's moving around slowly and very neutral expressions on their faces. They're being very careful, because they begin to see the disturbance that's caused by not being mindful. That's caused by acting, especially unmindfully. And so we should think of this in both ways. On the one hand, we always think about these big issues of not killing, not stealing, of course not committing adultery. But as meditators, we think of it on a micro scale as well. With everything, it's just like speech, right? With everything you say, it should be mindful. It's more difficult to be mindful speaking. It's possible. But with acting, it's much more doable and much more a part of our practice, right? Actually, the Buddha said with both. If you read the Satipatthana Sutta, maybe we'll go through the Satipatthana Sutta eventually. I said when you're speaking or when you're keeping silent, you should be fully comprehending. Walking forward, walking back, reaching, extending your arm, flexing your arm, eating, drinking, urinating, defecating. Everything should be done mindfully. Then you see this difference, where the defilements, the unwholesome, the problematic intentions, they don't break through to become actions. And technically, anytime they do break through, it's wrong action. I mean, not technically. According to the suttas, it doesn't go into that much detail, but from a perspective of the core teaching of the Buddha, in an ultimate sense, it's quite clear that it becomes what we might call wrong action. It's called kamma kilesa, I think, where the defiled actions, or actions based on defilement. It's the most coarse type of defilement. So, quite simple. Not easy, but simple. That's the teaching on right action.